Hi there, it's Kaylee from Crochet Unraveled, and in this video I wanted to give you the absolute beginner crochet tips that will give you a leg up when you are learning how to crochet and when you're still a beginner. So this is a great way to kind of make a list, a little checklist of what you need to learn, what you need to do to become more confident in your crocheting. And here we go. All right, so number one, you need to learn the basic stitches. Yep, that's it. So make sure that you watch my video that is the top 5 stitches you need to crochet almost anything. Those are the basic stitches that you need to learn, and once you learn those, it's going to be so much easier to crochet just about anything. So number one, learn the basic crochet stitches, and I know you can do it. Number 2, once you've learned those basic crochet stitches, memorize their abbreviations, or alternatively, you can keep a chart nearby when you're crocheting that has the name of the stitch and then the abbreviation next to it. The reason for this is when you are crocheting using a pattern, they aren't going to write out the full name of the stitch. Instead, they use an abbreviation, and a lot of times they will note what the abbreviations are and what they mean at the very beginning of a pattern, so you may not have to worry about this. You can just reference to the beginning of the pattern, but it might be handy just to keep a little chart nearby that helps you remember, okay, double crochet is DC, for instance. But yeah, that's number 2. Memorize the abbreviations of those basic stitches that you learned. Or alternatively, you can keep a chart nearby that kind of keeps track of it for you until you're more comfortable. All right, number 3. This one is really, really important. Once you've learned how to crochet those basic stitches, you need to learn how to control your tension correctly, and you need to practice crocheting with consistent tension until it comes naturally to you. So why is tension so important? Well, I gave the example in my video when I explained how to crochet with consistent tension, but I made the mistake of crocheting much too tightly on one of my projects, and then the project ended up being about half, if that, about half the size that it should have been. So it was tiny, it was teeny tiny, it didn't fit, and now I should probably just make another one now that I understand how to crochet better and with the correct tension. So tension is really important. If it's uneven, your work is just going to look kind of sloppy and weird. If it's too tight, your end project is going to be way too small. And if it's too loose, it's going to be too large. So that's really important. Make sure you check out my video on how to control tension. All right, number 4, make sure you are using the correct weight of yarn and size of hook. Now, both of these things are really important, and they kind of tie into the tension or the sizing issue. The weight of your yarn is going to be noted on the sleeve of the skein that you buy, so you'll know what the weight of the yarn is as well as what it's made out of. And then the size of your hook will be noted on your hook, and that can be either in millimeters, in letters, or even in both. And that's another thing that you can look up a chart for online and kind of keep track of the different weights of yarn and the different sizes of hooks. But that's something you need to make sure that you're using the right hook size and yarn weight that the pattern you are crocheting calls for. Otherwise, things just aren't going to be the right size. Number 5, make sure you know if the pattern you're following is written in US terms or UK terms. I strongly prefer using US terms. I think they make a lot more sense than UK terms, but still sometimes I do crochet patterns and they're written in UK terms, so I have to make sure that I know what the equivalent stitch is called or what that abbreviation is in the UK terms. So make sure at the beginning of your pattern, typically it will note whether it's written in US or UK terms, or you may have to do a little investigation to figure out if it's written in US or UK terms. But that's another great thing to have a chart for. US versus UK terms. This is sounding really complicated if you're just starting out crocheting. I promise you will get the hang of it quickly. Just pick one to learn in, stick with it, memorize it, and then when you do encounter a project that uses the other set of terms, then you can kind of figure out, okay, this is what they actually mean when they say this. All right, and number 6, this is my last tip for absolute beginner crocheters, and that is to learn how to properly finish off a project and weave in the ends. I do have a video on how to weave in the ends, and this is a really important step because when you weave in your ends properly, not only does your project just look a lot cleaner and you don't have those ends kind of hanging, dangling and messing up the aesthetic of your project, but it also makes sure that when you are using your project or after you wash it, that those ends are securely woven in so that they don't stick out of your project and just kind of look unclean and unfinished. So make sure, if you haven't already, that you go watch that video on how to weave in your ends. And I will link any other videos that I think are relevant and helpful for absolute beginners down in the description. So if you do have any other questions about crocheting, if you're a beginner and you need some help, make sure that you just leave me a comment below. You can also find me by heading over to crochetunraveled.com. Sign up for my email list, and then you can respond right to my email address and I will be the one answering. So other than that, if you are a beginner crocheter, make sure that you subscribe to this channel because there are tons and tons of tutorials coming. I'm really excited about what we have in store for you. And I really, really hope to see you in the next video. I hope your day is going fantastic, and I will see you next time. All right, have a good one. Bye.